Thanks for joining us today on The Perfect X. My name is Sherry, and this is my co host, Ben.
Hi, everyone. This is Ben.
And today we're going to talk about, do you think people can change?
Yes, I do feel. Yeah, so I do feel people can change, but yeah, that's our subject from today.
Before we jump in, let's just remind everybody to follow us on the perfect underscore X. That's the letter X on Instagram. We're also now on Thread, even though I don't know what to post on there half the time. Um, and if you've got any questions or topics you want us to talk about, please DM us or email us at the perfect X, and there's no underscore in that one, at hotmail.com.
Yes, please. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, we'd love some questions.
Before we start, how have you been?
I'm
I
good.
haven't talked in a while, I feel.
I know this is the first week that we didn't record twice, but it was such an exciting week. We should tell our listeners what we did this week.
Yes, we posted for the first time.
I know.
Yeah, our first episode is up live now, so
It's
that's
nuts.
amazing.
I feel like we were just like literally just talking about doing this. And like I felt like when we picked July 11th, it was so far away, but it happened so quick.
I know. I remember still when you like DM me and you're like, "Hey Ben, I want to talk to you about something I have, an idea I have," and I'm like, "Sure, what's up?"
I was
Yeah.
drunk. I think I forgot about it. I do a lot of online shopping and DMs or whatever when I'm drunk. I'm not like a weird like text your ex like kind of thing or like, but I do like I also wake up in the middle of the night a lot. Like I have a hard time sleeping, and like between 2 and 4 a.m. I purchase so much stuff and I forget. But it wasn't that I did it because I was drunk. Since I met you, I was like, wow, if I had ever found a perfect co-host, it's him. So I just that I was thinking about it for a long time, but I was like, should I? Shouldn't I ask him? Like, can I commit to this? And then I just went for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, good thing you got drunk and you texted me. That was great.
But do you remember I forgot about it, and then like a couple days later I called you? I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
you were like, "Hey, by the way," because I also was out with some friends. It was like a Friday or something, and I was out with some friends, and I'm like, the weird thing just happened. This girl I met in the airplane, like 2.5 hour ride, and we were just talking. She like reached out and said that she wanted to do a podcast and if I would be the co-host. And I'm like, and they're like, "Yes, you should do it, blah blah blah." And so I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Let me know more details." And then days went by, and I'm like, is this happening?"
Okay, well, okay. Do you remember when we got off the plane, there was a guy that turned off, like with a couple of rows ahead of us, and he turned around. He's like, "You guys are so funny. You should have a podcast."
Oh
Do you
no, I don't
remember?
remember. No.
Oh yeah, they were like three people around us had been laughing about things we were saying the whole plane ride, and that one guy turned around and said, "Do you guys should have a podcast?" So that's why I thought about it the whole time. So it's not that it wasn't. I'm telling you, it wasn't because I was drunk. I thought about it since then, but then I
Okay.
did forget, you know, texting you about it until like 2 or 3. I'm like, did I message him? Because it was like, but it wasn't because I'm drunk. It's just weird things I do in the middle of the night. Like I actually wake up in the middle of the night and shop, and it's not because I'm drunk. I then all of a sudden get delivery. They'll be like, you have a new package in the Amazon locker. I'm like, what? What did I order? So that's what it was. And then I was like, maybe I
Random
did
charges
message
at
him.
5 in the morning.
I know, honest to God, it's so weird. Like sometimes there's been times where I've ordered the same thing twice because like I'll order something from like Forever 21 and then it'll
Yeah.
go on sale and I'll order it again to like a couple days later, but then a package will arrive and I'm like, wait, is this the same package? so so messaging you was the same thing. That's why it was a couple days later. But I
Okay.
didn't regret it. It wasn't because I was drunk. I was really happy to do it.
No, no, thanks. I'm happy to do it too.
But
Other than
yes,
that, other than that, how was your week?
it was good. I mean, I had a lot of comments, and I like a lot of people were like, "Did you guys just record this?" I was like, "No, we pre-record. Like now we're on the 11th episode, and so obviously, but a lot of people DM'd and messaged, so I had a really busy social week in regards. Like I even had like my aunt from Iran message. Like, I was like shocked. A lot of people I was shocked. Like my guy friends who I've known since I was like young who are just not into like podcasts, but they listen to it. So I had a lot of like I had a really fun week. A lot of people messaging about it, but
Yeah,
other than that, I've been home.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of messages too. So,
Isn't it
um,
fun?
yeah, it's super fun. Oh, yesterday I went out with some friends. One of my friends is moving to Georgia. He got a job there and he's
Hmm.
moving. And
Are you sad?
so, I mean, it kind of sucks. I mean, that he's leaving, but he's part of like the guy gang that we get together and we have poker nights and stuff like that. So, I mean,
So
it
do you
sucks.
guys still have enough for poker, or do you need me to play? I mean,
Yeah, you can come over and play. Yeah.
but do you guys still have an even number? I know that's a big thing. My dad plays every Friday. It's like if one guy goes on vacation, like it
Oh,
fucks up the
no,
whole
I
system.
mean, no, it's totally fine. I mean, we don't even do it that often. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it sucks that he's leaving, but it's a good opportunity for him. So yeah, we hung out yesterday and kind of said our goodbyes because he needs to be there by the 24th, and they're gonna
Oh,
do
that's so
something
quick.
tomorrow. But it's a friend's birthday today, and so tomorrow she already had something planned, so I can't just like I have to go to my friend's birthday.
Oh, what? So you choose your friend's birthday over your friends going away?
Well, I already said goodbye to him, and also my friend's birthday. She's been friend for longer than this guy.
I
So,
mean, you clearly show who your better friend is. Like you're already, you're like, oh fuck, you're already out the door, so I'm not coming.
well, I mean, a birthday. I don't know. I mean, I already said goodbye to him.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I actually, I mean, when people move, like that's kind of the end of the friendship. Well, usually, like I know it sounds bad, but like I live in LA, people come and go. Like it's really hard to cut it in LA. I know since I've moved here, I've met so many people that have moved back to wherever they came from. So I don't think a going away party, like to me, a going away party is like, okay, I'll talk to you once every 2 years. So I don't blame you for missing it.
I mean, and it's not like a going away party. Like he just let us know on Wednesday about it, and
Oh,
so
so
he's
it's
like,
super short notice.
yeah, super short notice. Yeah,
He
so it's
still has
not like
10 days too. Usually the going away party's like the weekend before.
well, the thing is that it's him, his wife, and they need to like they're gonna U-Haul everything over there, and so they're like trying to plan ahead, and I mean, he needs to be there by the 24th, but uh, they're leaving like on the 19th, so it's
Oh,
not
okay.
like yeah, it's not like he's driving in on the 24th and the U-Haul and hey, good morning, first day of work. No, I mean, he has to get there and settle down, and I don't know where
I'm
he's staying for a
I'm
couple
so
months.
it's not my fault. I don't have a family and kids. So I would assume he would just fly in on the 23rd.
But I know, yeah, no. Well, I mean, he's just married. He doesn't have kids,
Well, if he's
yeah,
listening, congrats.
yeah.
Congrats on your changes. Sorry Ben couldn't make it. He had better plans, but
Well,
but
but again, I saw him yesterday, and I was like,
I'm just
yeah,
fucking with you.
wow, you're so mean.
I know, I
You
know.
you
It's
bully me.
Friday.
I know.
All right. So let's get to the topic. So
Yes,
you think people can change? I also agree with you. I 100,000% think that any human who doesn't live under a rock can fucking change.
of course. And uh, so I do want to say, like, it's yes, they can change, but I also feel it needs to change. Like, if you're in a relationship, sometimes I feel that's harder because you're just used to that relationship, and even though you say you're going to change during that relationship, I feel it's kind of hard. But if
Well,
you like break up and then, oh, I used to do that, but now I'm going to change, I don't know. I feel
well, it depends on what the change is. So, like in
correct.
my perspective, I think most people change naturally as life goes on. Like the reality is, as we live life, we experience things, right? And
Yeah,
so you can't experience things in life or go through life and not evolve, I think, like as a human being. So whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, depending on the situation of what you're looking to change. Like maybe it's like you're not the way you communicate overall with people, and it depends, right? Like I'm not talking about like just in regards of changing in the relationship. Like I mean, we can take it when we talk about relationship, like people say once a cheater always a cheater, and that's relationship evolved. I agree with you. I don't think people usually, doesn't mean never, but usually once they cheated on someone, they've disrespected you. I think it's harder. I agree with you. It's much harder to change with that person because you've already seen what you're capable of getting away with and what you're capable of doing to that person, or what, that little bit of lack of respect, you've already crossed that line. But I
Yeah.
think as a human, like, let's say, like, it's just like the way you interact. Like, there are people who, I have friends who were like painfully shy. Like, they could not talk to anybody outside of like people that talk to them, or like, or very knew them for years or whatever. But as they were forced to like maybe move for a job, or maybe they naturally had to like lose like a whole group of friends and they had to make new ones. But just as life happens, even if they were in a relationship, they were able to evolve because of the things that happen in life. But again, even that, I think, and I do believe 100% people can change. You have to be someone who's willing and able to change. Like, you can't be someone who doesn't take accountability, like a narcissist. And like, there actually are people, we should say, that don't change, and that's usually someone who's a narcissist or someone who doesn't take accountability. So I think there's a
Yeah.
small population that don't change, but the overall, as a human, yeah, I think you change.
And yeah, and those people that really don't want to change, I mean, and we're talking change in a good way. I mean, because you could also change in a bad way, but we're trying to focus on being a better person, being a better boyfriend, being a better, like all those
Hmm.
changes, I feel it could happen. But those people that don't want to change, I also is because I feel they don't feel they're doing anything wrong, like
Hmm.
they're always they're so like egotistic and like it's I'm fine, I'm always right and you're not,
So I think
so
when like our listeners, like, when they should take into account, like, if you're somebody who's maybe dating someone and you feel that they don't take accountability for any of their negative actions, I personally would take that as someone who's unable to evolve, you know?
correct.
And I think, like, in the reality is that life happens, right? And we all love the good moments. I have a girlfriend once, she said to me, and I just always stuck to me. It said, like, nothing is forever. Like, everything is just a moment. And she said this to me, I remember, like, during COVID lockdown, I was like, oh my God, like, what the fuck? Like, when is things going to be normal again? Like, I want to live my life again. I want to be normal. Like, because in the beginning, they were like, oh, it's only 2 weeks and then like a month. And I was like, this is never
Yeah.
ending. And she was like, hey, just relax and find something positive in the moment, because this is just a moment. And I love that, because the reality is life is all about moments, and good or bad. And of course, we all love the good moments. Like, we always want to be in a good moment. But I actually really, really appreciate the bad moments. Of course, I hate going through them in the moment, at that time, I should say. And when it's happening to you, it feels like shit, and you don't know how to get out of it, or you're stuck, or whatever that negative moment is. But the reality is, it's the negative things, the uncomfortable moments, that force us to change. Like, we don't continue to change during all good experiences, right? We change when we're uncomfortable. Otherwise,
Correct.
so I think, like, it's so important to surround yourself with people who understand that life has to have negative stuff in it too. It's not only that we can't appreciate the good things if there was no negative. I don't believe in that much. Like, I think I appreciate the good things. I would appreciate it even if, like, the next 10 years nothing bad happened to me. I would still be so grateful for the good things. But I probably wouldn't evolve as much. Like, something as simple as, like, you know, maybe someone yelling at you for talking too much and cutting them off. And maybe in that moment you feel like shit and you're like, God, that person's an asshole. But maybe then I'll take into account that maybe I do cut people off too much. Maybe I do interrupt too much, which I do, by the way. Pretty personal example. But, you know, and then
No
I'll,
shit.
yeah, no shit, right? And you change. So I think when you're dating someone, it's always, at least for me, like, I really take into account, like, when I'm on first dates, or like even talking to someone, like, before we meet and whatever, and you're asking them about a person, and they're talking about their life and like how things happen to them, and the way they describe that moment, are they someone who take accountable for things that they have also done for that negative moment, or do they see some positive aspects after that moment was done and how it changed them for the better, or are they just someone that keeps bitching and complaining about life and not taking any accountability? Like, those are really important things. I mean, it's a really red flag when they don't take accountability, because then
Of
you're like,
course.
oh. So
Yeah, and I get like what you were saying, like you can tell your backstory and be like, oh, I had like some rough moments. I did like, like shit happened to me. But if you're saying it in a way like shit happened to me, but then now I'm here, that means that they understood that something bad was happening. There was a moment of growth, and now they're in a better position. But when you talk to someone and, oh, this happened to me and that and they're like all negative and they're still complaining about it, is because they still have not reached that moment of recognizing, oh, there was something that maybe I did wrong, and how can I, what can I do to change that and turn it into a positive?
There's no growth. There's no
Yeah,
growth,
yeah, yeah.
right? Yeah.
That changing mode, that switch mode of being like, okay, that was in the past. Fuck it. What's next? Like, let's
I
move on.
find I find like a lot of times I like to know about people's past relationships. So like if I'm on a date, I ask like or like I find that the best people I connect with are like when I'm on a date and I the guy talks about his like divorce or his past relationship and he always says like, like this happened, that happened, blah blah. I was accountable, she was accountable here, but the best things happen is now we're like this and life is better. We've changed, I've changed. That's a great, green flag. You know,
Yeah,
I know that I always say my worst relationship was my best relationship because I became the worst version of myself in that relationship. And it was the best experience because had those things not happened, I wouldn't have even known I was capable of the shady shit that I was capable of. And like, I never even yelled before. And like, I saw sides of myself. I swear to God, like, I had like my mom and friends be like, whoa, like, I fucking don't recognize you. Like, I had like a friend of like 20 or 30 years. No, that's not 25 or 26. So like 20 years. Tell me like I never thought you were someone like that. And I also never thought I was someone like that. So that worst situation that I partaked in was the best situation for me because I grew so much from it. Like I would do that relationship 1,000 times over. It made me so self-aware.
yeah.
So,
I
but
mean, I
but
don't know if I would do it a thousand times or 100 times. I don't know how many times you said. I mean, just the one time is good enough, and you
just
learn from
one
that. And yeah, go, oh yeah, I love suffering. Yeah.
well, I'm just, you know what? I was really fucking young. It was a lot of fun. No, I'm just joking. I feel like I need a couple more times. Well, what about you? Like, when you talk about your cheating ex-girlfriend, like, was that a great experience for you in some ways?
Well, I mean, now it has. Now um I'm more cautious. I'm not so. I don't know. I was like, and it's not trust. Like, not that I don't trust, but now I'm a bit more like looking at those red flags, like you say. Like, oh, this is kind of weird. While before I was just like, oh yeah, I would do anything for. I'm a bit more cautious now when I go into a
Being sometimes
relationship.
being more aware isn't so bad. Like I think I brought it up in a couple podcasts before. I accidentally was in a situation where I dated guys who were married and I didn't know they were married.
Yeah, yeah,
And some of it was so obvious, but because I'm such a like, I don't really like, I'm not one of those people who like investigate, like go on their online stuff or like check their phone or whatever. There were so many red flags that were just very blatant there.
yeah,
With one of them I had a sense, I just trusted my gut. The other one I had no gut feeling, but if I actually looked around and paid attention, it wasn't so naive. So sometimes it's not that you want to be someone who's like doesn't trust or has like now you don't trust people and now you have issues, but sometimes it's good to go through those things to make you more aware. Like now I do ask questions. Like I recently was hanging out with someone and he wanted to go on a trip and he kept asking me on a trip, but I asked him twice what his last name was and he never told me. And before I would have been like, oh, whatever, who cares, just the last name. But now I was like, now that's a red flag. I'm more aware. I'm not even going to
yeah,
engage with this person anymore. So sometimes going through something like that and taking that naivety out of you, which is
yeah.
also kind of growth. Like I don't think it's good to be an untrusting worthy person. Like I'm still a really trusting person, but I don't just like bulldoze through red flags anymore. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
But like what
so
you were saying about accountability, and something that I've changed is me cheating. I like, we had this conversation and we had this podcast, and I did that years ago. But I, after like the last time I cheated, I knew that I was hurting that person, and I'm like, I need to change that. Like, that cannot be me. If I'm going into a relationship, I go 100%. There's no reason why to think of someone else or to be with someone else when you're with that person. Like, don't even go into that relationship if you're not even 100% sure that you
Did
want to be
you
with that person. So,
did you become aware of this after you got cheated on or before you got cheated on?
no, before. No, I mean,
That's
this is
interesting.
again before, yeah. And it wasn't again, and that's why I feel it hurt me so much because I was like, I used to do that and now I'm not doing that because I know how it hurts. I know it sucks. And now you're doing that to me. Like she didn't know like my past and like we never had that conversation. But I'm like, shit, I mean like
But let's
karma
be
or whatever you
honest.
want to call it. But
I was just gonna say, let's be honest. Like maybe you thought you would never cheat again and you thought what you did was shitty and you felt shitty for doing it. But didn't you feel so much shittier after it happened to you?
I don't know if I felt so much shittier. I mean,
But it
I
felt
was
shittier.
just,
Come on.
oh, of course, yeah. I mean, but yeah, I
Some
mean, I was also in a vulnerable state here because I had just moved and I was really like by myself. I didn't have a lot of friends because I've only been here in Austin for like a year, and so, but
But
yeah,
then it sounds like that was your learning lesson. Like maybe, whatever it is that you believe in, whether it's like God or karma or the universe or whatever it is, now it was like, okay, like we get it, Ben. We heard you. You said you're not going to do it again. But just to make sure you don't do it again,
oh
this
no,
is
and I
really
was not
how it's
gonna
fucking
do it.
feels.
I mean, I was not
But
gonna
you
do it.
know,
Well, I mean, that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. I mean, I don't want to do it because if I'm with if I'm single because I mean I if I want to be with someone, I want to be 100% sure that I want to be with someone. And but if I want to be with that person, I'm gonna give 100% and not cheat.
Well, okay, so let me ask you something.
Okay.
Being a cheater, being cheated on, would you now date someone who cheated in the past?
Yes.
You would?
Yeah. I mean,
Openly
it's
without issues?
well, I mean, if that person if she's being honest and she's like, "Hey, I cheated in the past." I mean, who hasn't? So
Me?
it's not like
I
shut
was
up.
on a break. I was on
I
a
was on
break.
a break. Yeah, okay, Ross. Um, so no, but it's like, I mean, who hasn't done something fucked up in a relationship? And so then you're not gonna ever date
No,
anyone. If
I
I'm
I
like, oh
totally
yeah,
I totally agree with you. I'm just fucking with you. I actually
no,
would
I
date
know, I
someone
know.
who cheated too. But
Yeah.
when they are honest about it and they tell me, and I
Well,
would
you
have
dated a
I would
married guy.
well, that was by accident.
Just, I'm messing with you.
I was being cheated on too. I just didn't know about it. But I would only date them if there aren't other red flags. So if I feel they're an evolved person, because someone I think who has really big issues and need a lot of attention or are extremely jealous and they cheated in the past, I wouldn't date that combination. If I feel like someone is like a very comfortable in their own skin, evolved human being, I would have no problem with the fact that maybe they cheated in their marriage or whatever in the past. They broke up and now they're a different person. I'm okay because I think again, people evolve and sometimes you have to go through really fucking shitty things or do really shitty things to evolve. In
Yeah.
your in your
Also,
story you went both, but
but like also having that conversation, have you ever cheated? It's not gonna happen in the first couple dates. I mean, because it's not a topic you kind of want to bring up like right
I've
away.
had guys tell me. I've had guys who were like divorced, and this happened quite a few times. I mean, and I don't know if it's like an LA thing, but most people in their 40s are like fucking divorced in LA, and a lot of them tell me like, and you're like, oh well, what happened? They're like, well, I cheated. We got married young. I get it. Like, okay, you got married young. You became two different people, and you were with each other for so long that yeah, you cheated. I'm not advocating it, but I understand that just because I didn't go through something doesn't mean I can judge it, right? So I hear their story out. I'm okay with it if they come off evolved. So I also agree with you. I don't think like look at you. You were like before you even got cheated on, you say I wouldn't have done it again. Like
Yeah.
people evolve if they become self-aware. But
Yeah.
again, like if a guy tells me like, "Oh, she did this to me, she did that to me, so I cheated on her," and then he continues the story, and I don't hear any accountability on his part, I would see that as a huge red flag. Huge. Because cheating isn't 50-50. I don't think anything in life is 50-50, but I do think it does take two. So sometimes it's 70-30 or like 60-40 or 50-50, or maybe just 10-90. Like, you are, no matter what the situation is, even if it's just slightly involved in it. Like, I believe it takes two people. So it just, the degree of it, I mean, it depends on the situation, right? So, but I would like to hear when someone explains. Guys say it on first dates here, at least, I've had it happen.
I mean, if somebody asks me like, "Hey, have you ever cheated on someone?" I mean, yeah, but I don't think it's gonna be like a first conversation like, "Hi, my name is Ben. How are you? Oh, by the way, I've cheated before." Like, no, you know, it's
But
not. It's not in
I'm t-
my. It's not in my profile. Like, hi,
but
Benjamin.
maybe I ask really personal questions. I can't, I like try to go right to the nitty gritty. I'm like, I don't have fucking time to like go and waste a bunch of calories and sit across from you just to find out that you like secretly have 3 kids with 5 other people. Well, I guess that makes sense, but with 3 other people, and like have been divorced and cheated and all. I want to know all the fucking stuff before I consume a single calorie. Like, I want to know.
Oh,
So
that's. I feel that's a no. You cannot
that's
go
enough.
nitty and gritty on your first date. No.
I ask. I mean, whether they share it or not is up to them, but I do tend to ask.
Well, no,
Not
because then you're gonna
always.
because if they don't share, then you're gonna be like, oh, that's a red flag. He didn't share that information, bro. There's some things that are sometimes it's you don't want to talk about in the first date.
Okay,
You're
listen. I
if
would
you and I go out on a
exclude.
first date and I'm like I'm trying to impress you, and you're like, hey, do you have kids? Were you married? Did you cheat? Did you like what the fuck? Like, where were you the night of September? Like, no, are you FBI? Are you
Wait,
wired? Like, get out of
I
here.
listen. I am possibly FBI. I could possibly be FBI, but I would forgive you if you didn't share everything with me in the first date. Later, I even, to tell you something, I dated someone for years who, on the first time I met him, told me it was his birthday and tried to kiss me. So kiss me is my birthday, and I thought it was funny. And we dated for years, and I only found out his real birthday like 6 months into our relationship. He never told me, but I thought that was funny. Like, it was the first time meeting, and he tried to be funny and charismatic, and then didn't have the balls to correct me. But then when his real birthday was coming around, he wanted to celebrate. I can forgive not sharing stuff on the first date, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to ask. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I may ask. I have FBI in my blood.
Yeah,
I'm a
I feel
nosy
you're more
fuckhead.
like a PI, not FBI, but okay.
Oh,
I
shut
wouldn't
up.
put I would I wouldn't rank you like FBI. I mean, you're
But
just
they
probably
probably
like
make they
I'm
probably make more money anyways. The private sector
just
always makes so I'll take the
like
PI.
nosy neighbor. That's what I call you.
I am nosy. Not to my
I
neighbor. I don't give
know.
a fuck what those fuckers are doing. But I am. All right. Do you believe in trying to change a person? This kind of goes to your thing. In a relationship, do you believe in trying to change a person?
Um, it's I mean, trying to change a person, no, but letting them know stuff that annoy you. And hey, you know what? Like, I don't like when you smack when you're eating. That bothers me a lot. I would bring that up. And again, it's not like I still love you, but if you could stop doing that, it would be like way better. I mean, those are things that probably I would ask, but if I'm with that person, like I feel no, I should not make that person change.
But you're talking about a habit. I'm talking about like characteristics. Like,
Yeah, I
you,
know. I
but I guess
mean,
habits make a character, so that's true too. I mean,
yeah,
when I say that, and I absolutely do not believe in trying to change someone. Like, I believe the most purest form of love is loving someone, flaws and all. And that's how I want to be loved. Like, I want someone to love me for my flaws more than they love me for my good traits. It's so easy to love someone for their good things, but being
yeah,
supported and loved and someone looking past your negative things, that is like the best kind of love. And so I would want that for myself, and I would hope to give that to somebody else. But I also think that trying to change someone can be a little bit dangerous. Now, communicating your dislike into something, like, I'm a little bit OCD. I like things to be put away. I would probably tell my partner, like, hey, can you please put your stuff away when you come in, kind of thing, because I'm not your maid, or and I don't like it living out. That's like communicating, like trying to make a situation living together. But like them character wise, like let's say like I'm a vegetarian. I don't want to make my significant other vegetarian. That's their own personal choice, you know? Like
Yeah.
I don't believe, or like for instance, I'm really outgoing and talkative and I want that in my partner. But with that said, I'm not going to date a shy person or quieter person and try to force it out of them. Be like, "Why are you so quiet? Why are you so quiet? Can you engage more? Can you talk more when you're with my friends?" I don't believe in that. And I actually think that that is such a negative situation and I see it all the time. Like I see a lot of people and I've been in situations myself where someone dates somebody and that person really shows who they are. Like they're shy or they're quiet, or for instance, they express who they are. Like I have guy friends that tell girlfriends, I do not want to get married. And I know like that girl stays and stays and stays for years. And she's like, oh, he'll eventually want to get married. Like I'm going to convince him to get married, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, that's not like, yes, he can evolve and come to that realization himself. But trying to push someone or not hearing exactly what they say to you and corner them into a situation is just so fucking negative. One, it literally will suck the life out of you. Like, you know, you trying to change someone else will make you lose yourself because I've seen people like become more and more insecure trying to make that person into the person they need them to be. Or they date somebody that's like okay enough and they're like, oh, I'll just fix the rest of them. And while they're trying to fix the rest of them, they're like making that person feel like worthless and like shit. And that person, people become resentful. So they start
Yeah.
treating you not as kindly. So you start feeling like shit. And it just becomes this real negative fucking situation. Like, you can't nitpick someone and think people have a limit. No matter how kind someone is, no matter how easygoing someone is, everybody has a fucking limit. And if you keep trying to change that person, they're going to hit their limit and they're not going to treat you with the same level of kindness and respect that they initially did. And all of a
Of
sudden,
course.
that easygoing, loving nature is going to change. And both of you guys are going to be so resentful and angry. And, you know, so I really
Yeah.
truly believe in just taking someone for exactly who they tell you and show you they are.
Of course. Yeah. And the person that's trying to change like if I'm trying to change you, I'm going to be eventually like so upset and so miserable because I'm searching for someone that is not that. You know, if I want to change, if you and I are dating and I'm trying to change everything about you, I'm gonna be so miserable because I don't want to be with you. I want to be with someone else because that's why I'm
Exactly.
trying to make you change. And so,
Exactly.
yeah.
But that's the
So yeah,
problem. Like a lot of people, they don't want to keep searching. They're like, okay, this person's in front of me. I'll just take this for, you know, and make them
yeah,
into what I need them to be, you know, like, and I even get this. Like, I have guys I go on dates with, and it's like talking to an 80-year-old woman. I'll tell them, like, I don't want kids. They're like, oh, you just haven't been with the right person. I'm sure I'd change your mind. It's like, no, I'm telling you something I've known since I was a kid. Nothing has ever changed that. I don't want it. And then I'll hang out with this guy. And this used to be the thing. Or like actually when I first moved to LA, I didn't want a relationship. I really didn't want a relationship. And I would say that. I would tell guys like I don't want a relationship. And then these guys would hang out with me and I thought it was some casual thing. And then they would drop the name girlfriend in front of their friends. And I would be like, no, I'm not your girlfriend. Like we're casual. Like I told you, I don't want anything serious. And they're like, oh no, we'll change it. Well, in the end, every time it blew up because I would say something like, I told you right up front, I don't want to be your girlfriend. And you now feel used and abused and taken advantage of, even though I never changed my stance. Like
of course.
you know, and
Yeah.
they become resentful and angry and they wasted their time. They wasted their time being in a
Well, they
situation.
but they wasted time because it was on like it's their fault. It's not
I
your
know.
fault because yeah,
But it's also mine too because maybe I should have like when they said like I heard like saw like things like them trying to bring me out too much with their family or friends or like that. And you're like, oh, if it's just casual, we should just not do all those things maybe. So I have to take accountability too. But you know, but I do think that these situations arise because people like they want like I feel like that guy didn't feel like I was just good enough and like didn't feel like continuing to search. So he's like, oh, eventually I'll change her mind. But that's not it. It wasn't that he wasn't good enough or the situation wasn't good enough. I wasn't in the mental frame for it and I wasn't interested. I
yeah,
think it's just a very dangerous thing to do. And honestly, like it's better to keep searching and be alone for a while than to be with the person that's not for you, you know?
Of
It's just
course.
you're just taking that bandage off, like, I mean, you've probably never been waxed, but, like, it's literally like taking wax off your legs, like, one hair at a time. It's fucking painful. Like, you
Oh, I
know?
mean, I've done it for the like just to
Try.
like I yeah, just to try it with friends or
It's
something like
fucking
that.
painful, right?
Yeah, it is. But I'm
That's
also
that's
I'm
how I see
also
those situations.
I'm really I don't have a lot of hair, so it's not like terrible. But
Well,
yeah. But
I'm
still it
Persian. I have a
hurts.
lot. It hurts. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
Persian. It has a lot. I'm just saying, like, I feel like those people are prolonging something that was gonna happen anyways. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
and they're just making it more painful.
Yeah.
Just so I think it's just really important to take people for exactly who they say they are and who they are. And really, honestly, it's so fucking amazing being with somebody who is what fits you and your life. But all of this said, we should say, like, I do think people do naturally evolve in relationships too. Like, I think, for instance, like, if I'm dating someone who works out like every, although I do this, so let me just think of something else. Like, maybe like more goal oriented, like with all aspects of life. Like, I'm a really like, let's just let like life happen. But if I was
Hmm.
dating someone who like had plans and really planned their life out and hit goal milestones, I appreciate that stuff. I'm too lazy to do it myself. So maybe if I was with somebody and I naturally chose to partake in that and naturally evolved or like naturally took on those habits, not because they pursued me to or pushed me to, but just from being in that relationship, you just naturally evolve and pick up each other's habits. Maybe he starts going to the gym as much as I do because I do, or, you know, like I would like to say eat. I eat a lot of junk food, so maybe I would eat less. Like these are natural things, you know, or maybe like
Yeah.
you know, but those are just from being around each other and picking up habits, you know.
Of course,
I
yeah, and it's mirroring the good things, like, oh, I could do that, this could benefit us. Like, oh, maybe you don't save as much and he does, and you start saving, and then, oh, well, we could now travel more, we have more
Mhm.
money to do this, or stuff like that. I feel that's good, but of course, it's always like trying to take the good thing out of it, and you doing it because you feel like it's something that could benefit both of you, and
Exactly, and it's not something
not
that
because
they
he asked
push
you
on
to
you.
do it. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Which really happens, like, in general, like, I mean, in all like, reality, any sort of close relationship, friend or dating, you know, you pick up on each other's good traits. If you like, usually your friends don't try to change you. It's not like in their interest because they're not living with you or anything. They don't really care. Like, I know, like, for me, I wasn't a meal eater. I was just like a snacker all day long. And I snacked on a lot of junk food. And my girlfriend who lived next door, she was very big on meals and very healthy. And she's Israeli. So, like, she doesn't buy like packaged stuff. She made everything fresh all the time. And living next to her for 5 years, or like three, I don't know how many years, whatever years it was, I naturally picked up those habits. I learned to cook. I learned to, do those. It wasn't like she was like, "Hey, by the way, you eat like shit every day," and she like constantly picked and picked and picked at me. It was just picking up someone else's natural traits that you
Yeah,
appreciate and that you want to evolve in. That's amazing, and that's
yeah,
so great. And I think sometimes we do date people who we want to see ourselves act like, or surround ourselves around that. So that is a beautiful thing. That is just a completely different thing than someone trying to change you.
yeah. I totally agree with you.
And I think usually too, you would tell the difference. Like if, for instance, you don't feel like shit, then you make those changes. So
Yeah. Have you ever tried to change someone, or
yes.
have
And
someone, you know,
sorry, go ahead.
or someone try to change you? That's
Yeah,
what I was gonna
I've
ask.
had both. Yeah, that toxic relationship, I had both. We both tried to push the other person. He tried to make me like not eat junk food and lose weight and work out more and at the time I wasn't doing any of well, I was doing a lot of the junk food eating. I wasn't doing the healthy eating and the working out. So I was saying I wasn't doing any of that. But
How
no,
long
I
have
was
you
definitely
been? Sorry, how long have you
yeah.
been a vegetarian?
Um I'm so bad with dates. I just kind of like do things, and then I'm like, oh, when did I start? I want to say it's been like 6 or 7 years, but I can't be exact. I can just tell you this, there were bean burgers when I became a vegetarian. Like there was no delicious Beyond Meat and all that deliciousness.
Okay, yeah,
Like
okay,
so I remember like the first time with Gardein they came out with those vegan chicken strips and I think I ate like 5 bags in one lunch. Like I was so happy because it's not that I don't like
bags.
meat. Bags. But yeah, I so
Yeah,
it's been a long time. But I
okay,
still eat a lot of junk food. Becoming a
but yeah,
vegetarian doesn't mean.
okay. Continue about the boyfriend that you ate a lot of
Oh,
junk food.
um, yeah, it was just toxic. It was all these things we mentioned about being toxic, like he made me feel like complete shit about myself. And because even if he did it like he was constantly picking me, let's go work out, don't eat that, don't eat this, don't like blah blah. I just remember like every time I like order pizza, I get like anxious, like fuck, like I hope he leaves my apartment before it gets delivered, like and it just the more it felt nitpicky instead of him just like loving me for the way I looked and the person I was, and then me wanting to go to the gym with him, it was a whole different thing. And so
Yeah,
I really fucking resented him. And every time we were out in public, I would try to make him feel like shit because I mean, we'll go into a whole podcast about this because I really want to share that one. It was like so many issues, and I definitely want to have a whole podcast about it. But the short story is that like I would then try to make him feel like shit for the way he made me feel like not being good enough. And then
yeah,
I would in turn try to change things about him so that he also felt like that. So it obviously ended in like a really emotionally damaged situation
yeah.
and a lot of resentment. It wasn't healthy at all. What about you?
No, really not that I can remember, like I have never tried to make anyone change. I mean, if I want to be with that person is or if I was with someone is because I wanted to be with that person, like again, nothing major like oh, I don't know, like I don't like when you smack or shit like that. But no, I have not really been like that and neither been with someone that wants to change me. And one
But
of the
what
things is
about
that yeah, what about what?
no no, you said one of the things that
Oh, I mean, again, I'm like open when I first start dating someone, and I'm like, I don't want to have kids. Marriage is not like a priority in me, and so if that's something that they're looking for, it's like, you know what, it's not gonna work. Like we already started off on the like with big things because those are life changing.
those are
Having a kid,
foundations. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and so it's not like, oh yeah, I don't like to wear socks, like no, or something, but it's something like, oh shit, like that's something that's gonna affect your life because if you want to have kids and you're always expecting, oh, I wish I had a baby, and you knew this from the get-go, like so it was your decision to even start it. But yeah.
But what about that ex that cheated? Did she try to change you a little bit?
Um, no, I mean, I don't feel she tried to change me.
She just cheated.
Yeah, she just cheated.
It
She
was
was
no heads
just
up.
no, she was just I don't know, stupid and did something wrong. And again, I have no issues with her now. Like if I see her, I'm like, hey, how's it going? Like,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, it happened. She fucked up. That's it. I mean, I cannot keep carrying that anger and emotion with me and be like, no, fuck that. Like it happened and life goes on. And yeah, I mean, it took me a while, but yeah.
Well, okay, so that talking about exes, do you believe in giving an ex another chance?
Depending on why.
Well, I mean, let's say that you bump into them a year later and you still
But
have
depending
feelings.
but depending on what happened, like why did we break up in the first place? Like the girl that cheated on me, fucking no.
But you don't
No.
think she could change enough? Maybe she's a whole different person now.
Yeah, no, but no. No, because
So
I gave her yeah, no. No.
so you wouldn't give an ex it depends on the circumstance.
Correct. It depends on how things ended. Like if it was just like, you know what, at that moment I was just not like in my, I don't know, I was just going through some shit, and I don't know, but now I feel I've evolved, or I don't know, sometimes you're not happy at work, and like personal things is happening through you, and you're like, I'm just not like entirely happy right now. I don't want to be in a relationship. It's another like more pressure, and that's why you break up, and then now you find like a good job that you want and shit like that, and you're a bit more in your like happier in your space.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, like I believe that people can be a completely different person with time. Like I think time changes everything. So like I'm not at all the person I was even 2 years ago. And I'm definitely nothing like I was 10 years ago. Like 2 years ago I was like this party easygoing, like more than 2 years ago now, like 4 years ago. I was so easygoing. I didn't think about things. I didn't think about consequences. I just like went through life like a bulldozer. And I'm nothing like that now. Like, like I'm 180 degrees. I always say 360, and Mass always tells me that means you're the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to say 180 of the person I was. Like, I'm, people who meet me now are like, well, you're so carefree, but I'm not. Like, I used to be the most carefree. I never ever thought about a consequence. So I was the carefreest person in the world. And now I'm not like that. So I think because I have changed so much and I've seen myself, I do believe, even a cheater, I do believe if time passes, I would give that person, if there's still love, another chance. And the reason is, again, like I think people can completely evolve to a whole different version of themselves. And I, even their wants and
Yeah.
changes can be different.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, maybe, but you're giving that example like you asked me about that cheater.
Mhm.
No,
But another cheater, possibly,
maybe.
maybe. The cheating thing is a
Maybe.
real touchy one for you.
Well, I
I
mean,
wouldn't
it's
I wouldn't be with my ex who calls me fat again. But so I'll give you that. Like I
but
wouldn't
like,
take him
okay,
back.
would you if the married guy got divorced and everything and came up to you and he's like, "Hey, I'm divorced. Here's my paper. Would you go out with me?"
Yeah, I would give
You
him another
would.
chance. I'm not saying I would date him. I would go on a date or a few dates. Yeah, because we had a really good connection. I mean, I completely blocked him. I never spoke to him again. So he could be dead for all I know. But if he did, yeah, because I don't know his situation. I try my best, and it's so funny me saying this because in my jokes I judge everything, but in my real core self,
I
I actually try not to judge things I don't haven't experienced or don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I don't know what the situation was between him and his wife that caused him to be that person that he was in that time. That person is a disgusting human being to me. But he was he could evolve to be someone completely different. So if I bumped into him and had feelings, now you'd have to have feelings. It was not like if I bumped into him, like if I bumped into my ex that called me fat, I have bumped into him. There's like zero feelings for that person, not hate, not good, like nothing. I just no interest. But if I bumped into that guy and I had feelings for him, or I felt chemistry, I shouldn't say feelings because I don't know him to have feelings. If I felt chemistry, I would because I don't know who he is today and I don't know the situation of before. I didn't even give it a chance to hear before and I
yeah.
wouldn't have excused it before because I don't ever think there's actually a full reason to cheat. So it wouldn't have made a difference. But we're talking about 5 years later. Yeah, like that's a lot. If it was like 5 months later, most likely 99% chance no. I think there has to be a lot of time that passes for a human to really evolve. I think a lot of times people think they've evolved a lot sooner than they actually have. Like, so that's why I say it. Like, I don't believe in taking back an ex. I don't believe I would. I would never say never, but I 90% don't believe I would take someone back soon after any situation that broke us up or that made us not work. But if like
After a while, yeah.
2 years, minimum 2 years, because I think it takes 2 years for someone to evolve because we always like change a little bit and then we feel uncomfortable in the change and then like it's like you have like a bit of a backfall, like you go kind of go back into the bad habit or you're like you uncomfortable who you are, you're like I don't know where I am, I'm not this person, I'm not this new person, I'm in between. So all of that takes like time and adjustment and that doesn't happen very quickly. So yeah, I do believe in few years time apart, yeah, I think I would get
Yeah,
that.
I mean, and it all started saying, "Do you believe people can change?" And we both agreed. Yes,
Hmm.
I do believe people can change. Um, but that does not mean that you have to give everybody a chance
No, you
or a
don't.
second
Absolutely, you
chance. Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Absolutely, you don't. No, I'm telling you,
So
like with my old with the old ex. No, I wouldn't. There's really no. I've seen him. There's no chemistry, no feelings there. Him as whatever version he
yeah,
changed, I finished.
you
You
burned
know.
all bridges. I mean,
Yeah.
there's yeah, yeah,
You don't have to. You don't have to take someone back. We're just saying like if there's chemistry or there's some sort of emotional attachment still there, I would. And
yeah.
again has to be. I really think that change has a lot of adjustment stages. So it
Correct.
can't for me be soon. And I believe that it has to be their own natural change. It has to be something that they chose to do and it wasn't forced in any situation. And they can evolve and possibly, yeah, I would give most people a chance, another chance.
No, yeah,
But I understand you not wanting to give the one that cheated another chance. I
yeah.
mean, it seems like
And
there was just nothing left there.
correct. Yeah, it's maybe not because of what she did, maybe not because of the cheating part of it. It was just like everything just like broke down. Like it was just
Hmm.
like, yeah, it was just too much, you know.
Sometimes
And
there's really nothing there. There's no more hairs to pull with that wax. You
correct.
know, like
Yeah.
now you're just hitting the skin, like you
Yeah.
know. So
So yeah, and again, if I see her, I'll say hi. Like I haven't seen her in like a long time, but if I ever like bump into her, I mean, I would totally be like, "Hey, how's it going? How's life? How's
I
everything
get I
fine?"
get what you're saying. Like sometimes, like, and I think I brought this up before. Like I once bumped into that ex that I wouldn't take back, and he told people, "Oh, Sherry was so uncomfortable," and I was like, "Dude, like I was sick. My dog was sick. I wasn't even thinking about him." But
Yeah.
sometimes, like you just evolve so far past that person. There's actually no emotion towards them, not bad or good. So you're cordial. You're like, I have nothing. Like they're literally a stranger off the street, but you just happen to recognize them. You know, like there's really no feeling there, good or bad, and that's just evolving so far out of the situation that there's nothing left to give. And that is really, really fair. Like, so
Yeah.
you got to rip skin to get some kind of feeling. And if you wax the same spot enough, you can rip. It's really fucking
The
painful.
skin.
It
Yeah.
does. It does. I've waxed the
Yeah.
same spot over and over. It's painful. But yeah. Well, that's a good
Yeah.
part to change. I mean, I have nothing left to say on the topic. Do you?
Yeah, no, I have nothing else to say. I mean, I think we covered everything, and if people want to give their opinions, or if they want us to talk about it again and have more topics to talk about, I mean, they can always email us
And share your
or DM us.
experiences. Yeah, or DM.
Correct.
Share your experiences. Like maybe you got back together with an ex like years later and you want to tell the love story. I would love to share that on the podcast. Or you saw them later and burnt their car down.
Slash their
Yeah,
tires.
we're hearing it. We want to know. Share the experience. But
Yeah.
every Tuesday, we should tell our listeners, every Tuesday is a new podcast. And next week, we're talking about love languages.
Nice. Yeah. That's gonna be
It's a
a
good
good
one.
one.
I think so too. It's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have an
All right.
amazing weekend, and I will talk to you on Monday.
Yes, you too. Have an amazing weekend. Listeners, remember Instagram, the perfect X. Well, the perfect underscore X, just the letter X. And yeah, we're also on Threads, you said. So
Yeah, no, I don't know what to thread about, and I don't. I was never really on Twitter. I think I have a Twitter. I never used it. I don't know how to use it. So now this
yeah.
thread thing, it's like another thing I don't. But we have followers, so I posted something.
Well, that's another way they can communicate with us and they can leave. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it works. So
Yeah, and if
if
I
somebody
do a
can,
bad job responding, I'm really sorry because I also don't know how really it works. So
we're terrible at this.
we're fucking old, man. We're old.
I know. Yeah. That's
All
why we
right,
have Hotmail. Remember, the
I
perfect X
know.
at hotmail.com.
And
So
we should tell listeners we picked July 7th because we loved 7-Eleven as kids. Like, I mean,
best store
listen.
ever.
And actually, really to talk about our age before we sign off, I'll just say something funny. One of my close guy friends, he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you have a real FM voice on here." And I was like, "What FM?" And he's like, "AM FM." I'm like, "Oh my god, I forgot about that. I forgot there
How
was
can
an AM FM."
How
And
can you forget about
I
AFFM?
forgot because we've been like streaming music for so long. And I asked my niece, I said, "Do you know what AM/FM is?" And she's 14. She was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh my God, we are so old. Like these kids don't even know what the radio is." So
I know.
yeah.
We're gonna be sending out cassettes and stuff like that.
Yeah. At least we'll sign them. We'll sign them. There's somewhere to sign.
Yeah,
All right, I'll talk to
I
you.
gotta make
Oh,
you a mixtape the other day.
I would seriously love a mixtape. I just don't know where to play it on.
Well,
So
okay.
I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.